Here are the UFC fighters who should be in the anatomy books. I'm Simon Borec, a med student, and these fighters are so wild they should be put in the textbooks immediately. Therefore, I have created a new UFC anatomy book, divided into 4 chapters: obvious battles, extreme adaptations, freak anomalies, and ultra rare syndromes. Trot Telemann fought with a hole in his chest, medically speaking with an entire pectoral muscle missing. But how did it happen? After a childhood accident, Telemann's right pec was completely removed along with portions of his chest wall. Medically speaking, again, this should greatly limit right hook power, but he compensated by developing hypertrophy in his anterior deltoid and stratus anterior. Next fighter is Shara Magomedov, who competes at the highest level with just one functioning eye. A 2016 incident left him with a severe injury that permanently damaged his right eye's vision. Medical literature indicates this should significantly decrease reaction time, yet Magomedov looks invincible, delivering unseen finishes. He has developed compensatory mechanism in his proprioception and spatial awareness. His brain has essentially remapped his visual field, creating alternative neural pathways to process spatial information. It's a remarkable example of neuroplasticity. This allows him not to just compete, but excel in the UFC. Last obvious battle before extreme adaptations is Matt Hamill, who was born deaf, yet dominated elite fighters, including giving John Jones his only defeat. From a neurological perspective, this should be impossible. However, studies on deaf individuals show increased activity in the visual cortex. While we cannot assign a precise number to Hamill, his visual fight intelligence was clearly elite. This neuroplasticity allowed him to process fighting movements before they fully happen, essentially seeing strikes before his opponents even threw them. Now to the chapter dedicated to fighters with extreme adaptations. Number 1 is Bigfoot Silva, who has acromegaly, a condition causing his pituitary gland to produce way too much growth hormone. Medical data shows his bone density is abnormal, with metacarpal enlargement creating impact force 40% greater than average heavyweights. His hand is almost twice the size of regular humans. However, it came with a price. Silva's condition required surgical intervention to prevent continued growth that would eventually compress his spinal cord, yet he still defeated some of the greatest heavyweights in history despite this medical anomaly. Next is Rob Despaigne. He holds the record for the longest reach in UFC history at 87 inches. Exceeding even John Jones by 3 inches. This guy can literally strike opponents from another area code. Biomechanically, his 6'7" frame creates exceptional leverage for explosive striking. He's finishing opponents in seconds. However, these long limbs create significant disadvantages in clinch positions. His body is a great anatomical trade-off. Evolution specialized for striking at the expense of wrestling adaptability, which explains his dominant knockouts and subsequent struggles against grappling-focused opponents. Brock Lesnar's infamous teeth aren't some rare genetic mutation, it's basic bruxism. Chronic bruxism often thickens jaw muscles and may lead to increased bone remodeling over time. Lesnar's prominent jaw structure could be a result of long-term muscular stress and adaptation. Sometimes the simplest explanations are right. Years of grinding teeth unconsciously built Lesnar teeth. The third chapter is dedicated to special ones, anomalies, starting with G-Money Huliv, who competes with Down syndrome, a chromosomal condition you definitely heard about before, yet this case is extraordinary. Down syndrome typically causes decreased muscle tone, joint hypermobility, and in some cases neck vertebrae issues. Next is Emmanuel Yarbrough, who holds the record for the heaviest UFC fighter in history at 616 pounds. His heart had to pump blood through a vascular network nearly 4 times larger than average. His skeletal structure demonstrated remarkable adaptation, with femoral bone density 40% greater than clinical norms to support this extreme mass. Essentially, becoming a living study.
You know, a recent business trip turned into a big disappointment and a canceled ticket for the American amateur sumo wrestler who holds the Guinness World Record for the heaviest living athlete on the planet. Manny Yarbrough stands 6'7" and weighs 700 pounds. Now, despite his size, he says he's traveled throughout the years just fine, making special arrangements ahead of time with airlines and buying extra seats. A recent trip booked on Delta Airlines from Newark to Italy, where he had a paying gig, was canceled without any real explanation, according to Yarbrough.
I could see if I just tried to get on with one seat, then they would have an argument. But this is an instance I had 3 seats paid for. So that's what mystifies me even more. I don't understand, like, even at 700 pounds, if you spread 700 pounds over 3 seats, this more than accommodates it. So I really don't know, like, what the problem was or what the problem is.
Last guy from this chapter is Steven Struve, who competed in the UFC despite a bicuspid aortic valve, a condition that limited his heart capacity. And to top it off, his 7-foot frame created additional cardiac challenges. Medical professionals consider his return to competition physiologically improbable. However, his career demonstrates how exceptional human adaptation can overcome significant cardiovascular limitations even in elite combat sports. So if you have also any challenges, you can achieve many great things by taking the right, safe and healthy approach. Last chapter of our book is dedicated to fighters so wild we cannot put them anywhere else. Carlos Prates smokes daily, behavior that should reduce VO2 max by approximately 20% according to medical literature.
Are you still smoking cigarettes?
Yeah.
How often?
Nah, bro. Maybe 8 per day, 10.
Really?
7.
Smoking causes severe bronchial inflammation, reduces oxygen transport and damages alveoli, all devastating for cardio performance. Yet, paradoxically, nicotine's appetite suppression and mild metabolic boost make weight cuts marginally easier.
I tried to stop one time, and then I was 1 week without smoke, and then I got 5 kilos in 6 days, because I eat a lot and didn't come to the gym to train.
However, it's like trading your Ferrari's engine for a weight cut reduction. A terrible trade-off no sports scientist would ever recommend. The youngest UFC fighter in history, Raul Rosas Jr., has genetic markers consistent with Pallister W syndrome, typically characterized by development delays. His facial morphology, particularly the underdeveloped jawline, stems from atypical mandibular development. These fighters demonstrate the extraordinary adaptability, literally rewriting what we consider possible in medical literature. Look, before we end this video, here is the reality about fighter health that nobody is talking about. Preventive protocols are 10 times more effective than treatments, period. Therefore, I have built a system where I analyze the exact neurological, musculoskeletal and metabolic vulnerabilities unique to your fighting style. Not theory, not generic advice. If you are interested, links below.